right, ladies and gentlemen. Dave, and Alex.
The Pop 10.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pop 10 for February 2017. I, of course, am your host, Dave Solo, and this gentleman that's joining us this month could be the biggest guest that I've ever had on anything that I've ever done. This guy is phenomenal, and we all loved him as Neville Longbottom from the Harry Potter franchise. Everyone, please help me welcome the man himself, Mr. Matthew Lewis.
That was quite an introduction that I've got to now follow up.
Wow, it's just you being here is enough follow-up, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to join me.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for having us down here.
And you're a big pop culture fan in general, right?
Yeah. I'm a self-proclaimed geek, really. I love all TV, film, video games, everything, you name it.
And we're gonna get into the different categories, the different topics in a little bit, of course, throughout the show. But like looking at the different topics, beforehand, what do you think is the one category that you really gravitate to? Would you, if you had to say, like, I'm a gamer or like I'm a big music guy, what's the one if you had to pick it? You think
the music one kind of terrified me a little bit because I do love music. I used to be in a band when I was younger, but as I was explaining to you earlier, my music tastes are older. Let's just say that.
Okay.
the older kind of category. So anything talk about Grammys and stuff, I might struggle with. But sport, I love sport. I'm a huge sports fan, so that interested me. And yeah, as you said, I'm a gamer. Much to the dislike of everyone I know.
Right.
I spend far too much time on video games.
I don't think that's possible. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here is your Pop 10 for February 2017.
Number 10.
A very happy birthday to Image Comics, who is celebrating 25 years as an independent comic company. I think that's pretty remarkable, don't you, Matt? 25?
Yeah, especially as independent, up against the big boys, 25 years, that's pretty special.
And I dare I say that was accomplished with the help of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Right? Outcast is really huge. Invincible's coming to an end. And have you dabbled in any of the Image comics?
Yeah, the Walking Dead, a series of comics that I got into quite heavily. I was on tour with a play in 2011, I think it was, and I was the youngest in the cast and kind of on my own with a lot of it, and had to really find something to do, away from home for 6 months. And I stumbled across a bookshop and popped in there, and The Walking Dead was there. So I bought like the first 5 of the graphic novels, and I just flew through them, and then just kind of stuck with it for a while. And yeah, absolutely loved them. I thought it was brilliant. And then since then, gone on to watch the first 2 seasons of the series. I'm a bit behind on the TV series.
We got to catch you up.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. But I get a bit nervous because when it changed, and to be fair, the first season was pretty good. It was
phenomenal.
It was so close to the comics, but then the changes they made, I felt were necessary for the series to progress. I just felt like it had been done so well. But I always get nervous about having stuff ruined when you were such a fan of the original source material.
Right.
I don't know how I can talk being Harry Potter, but yeah, it's just one of the fears of mine sometimes. But I will catch up, definitely.
And so, being a book fan, what character was your character in the books? Who did you relate to? Who did you gravitate towards, or just even liked, even if they were bad?
Yeah, it's so boring. I was always Rick. It's so I just he's become such almost an anti-hero at some points of it, the decisions and choices that he has to make. But I'm always drawn to the reluctant hero, the one who never asked for any of this, but he's the one who will make the tough choices. He's the one who will lead from the front, even when all he really wants to do is get his family away from everyone else and just chill out.
Right.
And then the sacrifices that he has to make Does he lose his hand in the series?
Do you want to know? I'll tell you.
Yeah, tell me.
He does not.
He does not. Okay,
no, and
right.
it's funny because Robert Kirkman has said that was always one of his early regrets, because that happens early on.
Yeah.
He actually lost his hand, and in the show they said it just logistically, the green glove for a green screen, So no, but I'm not going to spoil anything for you.
Okay.
But in this past season, they kind of played with that idea a little bit.
Okay.
I think as an homage.
Okay.
But yeah.
But just, I mean, the sacrifice that he makes throughout the well, as far as I've got in the novels, and the fact that he just constantly keeps alluding to the fact he never wanted this.
Right.
Other people forced him into the position because no one else was willing to step up, and he was. And I am drawn to those kind of characters, like the Han Solos, the ones who wanted to step away from all this, but they were the best men for the job, so they ended up doing it anyway. Yeah, they're the characters that I always like.
And speaking of comics in general, are you otherwise a comic fan, a Marvel or DC?
I don't think I've ever read a Marvel comic. Is that like
Spider-Man?
Blasphemy. Yeah, I've never read. I think that's terrible. DC, yes. Batman was growing up was my superhero.
Okay.
So I've read quite a few of the Dark Knight Returns and all that stuff, and then the Killing Joke.
Killing Joke is amazing.
Which I think is my favorite graphic novel of all time.
Absolutely.
I've got like a hardback version of that, trying to get my girlfriend to read it. She thinks I'm insane. What touch it at all. But I mean, that was when I read that, because I was still, a part of me was kind of under that illusion that comics were kids fodder,
Sure.
They were what kids. I read probably the Beano. I don't think you probably get that over here, but it was just kids comics that you read when you were in the doctor's waiting room, and then got Walking Dead. I sort of got into that, and I was like, well, this isn't for kids at all.
No.
But then I read The Killing Joke, and it was like, this is actually a masterpiece of art. Like, this is an incredible story.
Yeah.
It's powerful. It's emotional. The characters are fully realized, and that was when I realized that it wasn't just a bit of it wasn't at all a joke medium. It was a very, very serious adult medium. And since then, I've read Watchmen and a bunch of other stuff that tackle with very real, very serious themes.
Yeah, The Killing Joke has some pretty serious stuff.
It's no joke.
Yeah,
I've not seen the movie. Have you seen the film?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think the graphic novel is better,
right?
But the movie is phenomenal.
And Mark Hamill is pretty special.
He's the Joker, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Heath Ledger was fantastic on screen.
Yeah,
but Mark Hamill's
he's my Joker. I'm with that because I played the video games as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to spoil it for anybody out there that hasn't read The Killing Joke, but at the end, I just want your opinion, because it's up to its interpretation. In a way.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
So, I mean, do you think they both walk away at the end? Do you think one of them walks away?
I think I like to think they both do.
Oh, okay.
Because they need each other. Is that?
Oh, perfect. Oh,
yeah, I mean,
said.
it's one of those age-old questions. Does Batman actually need the Joker? As much as the Joker needs Batman,
Absolutely.
Which is why they'll never kill each other.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that as a storyline, as a character trait that they both created each other. They both need each other. We see in The Killing Joke that's not quite the same. The Joker comes from a different background, but then in the first Batman movie, when the Joker says, "You made me," he's like, "Yeah, well, you made me first." I do like that. What Tim Burton did there, I quite like that.
Wow, well said. So everybody, pick up The Killing Joke. Matt Lewis likes it. I like it. Pick up The Killing Joke, and also please pick up the latest from Image Comics. The Walking Dead second issue of the month is already out, and Invincible's wrapping up. Only 25 cents for the 25th anniversary. What a deal!
Yeah, absolutely. Snap that up.
Snap it up, ladies and gentlemen. Image Comics, happy birthday.
Number 9.
My New England Patriots pulled it out. Me being from Boston, Massachusetts, I was on a cruise ship. I really didn't have a chance to watch the game.
Oh, wow.
But a lot of the cast and friends were keeping us updated. And what a game it was.
Yeah.
Just historic for so many different reasons. And are you a big American football fan?
I mean, I'm getting more and more into it. It's a thing that a lot of people in the UK do. They try and stay up for the Super Bowl, but it starts at like I think midnight till 4 a.m.
Right.
And so very few people actually do manage it. I've definitely started at least 2 Super Bowl games. I'd never finished one until this one because it was my first one in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
So I watched the game and it was incredible. I mean, I was saying to my dad as I'm watching the Super Bowl. He's like, okay, well, we're off to bed now. I was like, yeah, but I'm actually in America, so I'm going to watch this. He said, it'll be very boring, I was like, yeah, I know, it goes on for 4 hours, it'll be really dull. It turned out to be the most amazing game that I think, well, I've certainly ever seen in my handful of football games. And as I'm led to believe, one of the most amazing. I mean, everyone loves a comeback, full stop, but that was the mother of all comebacks.
Right.
It was pretty special. And I've got a lot of friends who are New England fans. My girlfriend's family are all Falcons fans.
Oh.
But as soon as someone goes down that heavy, you always want them to come back. And it does have the word England in the name.
Yeah, there we go.
So I was kind of backing them.
And it's funny you say that too, because last year was my very first time in the UK for Walker Stalker Con London, and all these names. I live in New England, so we have all of the same names.
Oh, right.
In New England, and we just put like the word "new" in front of it. I'm like Braintree, like we have a Braintree, and it's all the same name. So yeah, we have something in common there. See, England, New England. But the Patriots comeback, again, was monumental. I'm not a huge football fan. I think one of the most interesting aspects was the stolen jersey after the fact. I think that's pretty hilarious.
That's crazy, right?
I think Bob has it. I think Bob took it. No.
I mean, surely whoever's got that is just going to have to drop that at a police station at some point.
What are you going to do?
No one's going to take that off your hands now.
No.
Surely.
Or they'll just wear it forever, I think.
Maybe Vladimir Putin will take it.
Wow.
Put it with that Super Bowl ring that he nicked off.
Yeah. You went deep on that one. But you're a guy who loves sports, and you're a rugby guy.
I am rugby league specifically. Yeah, there's 2 different types of rugby.
Let's hear it.
Which I'm not going to bore you with the history. Most people always go, tell me the difference between rugby league and rugby union, and I give them a history lesson that goes back about 120 years. But basically, 120 years ago, give or take, the rugby union split into 2 factions: rugby league and rugby union, and it kind of split. It was actually a class split between the working class and the middle upper class, and so the countries pretty much at the time was split that way. So the north went towards rugby league and the south went towards rugby union. That's a very simplified explanation, but that's kind of how it happened.
Right.
And then over the last 100 years or so, both sports have evolved in very different ways, and they are effectively 2 very, very different sports now. Different number of players on the pitch, different rules, different point system. Even the ball actually is slightly different. It's just the same shape, but it's slightly different. So they are completely different sports now. One is vastly more popular internationally, rugby union. But where I'm from, rugby league is God. I mean, everyone follows rugby league in Leeds. And so, I'm hugely into that. And I support the Leeds Rhinos. I'm actually an ambassador for their foundation as well. Vice president for their foundation. I mean, I don't get an office or anything. I don't really have a VP, any kind of perks. But I've been heavily involved with the club for a number of years now, and we are the most successful club in Super League history.
Yeah,
just to drop that in there.
Just throw it out there.
Yeah.
So you're like the Patriots of rugby.
Yeah, I think we probably are. I think in England people call us the Manchester United of rugby, and I hate Manchester United, so I can appreciate why everyone hates the Leeds Rhinos as well. I do appreciate it, but tough. We are the best.
That is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Are there other sports that you enjoy? Do you enjoy football, which is Americans call soccer?
Yeah, soccer. I mean, I grew up watching soccer as well as rugby, and I had a season ticket with my team, Leeds United, for a long time. I still follow it. I became somewhat disenfranchised with it because it's not really the sport that I grew up watching anymore.
Sure.
The level of money that's involved and the business side of it. I mean, I don't want to start going into any kind of dissection of the problem with the beautiful game, but
Right.
it's just become not what it was anymore. Whereas rugby league is still very much a sport of the people. I mean, after every game, the Leeds Rhinos, they come up into the bar at the stadium, and everyone just gets their autographs, and you have a drink with the players. I mean, they're not drinking alcohol, but you're just around the players in the bar, which I don't think you'd ever get at any level of professional, particularly the top level, the top tier. In soccer. Again, still follow it, still love Leeds United, but it's not. It doesn't hold the place in my heart that it once did. I think it's been usurped by basketball probably now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I become a bit of a basketball fan while I've been over here.
Nice. You go to some games?
Yeah. Magic. I'm a Magic fan. I've actually been a Magic fan for a few years now. Unfortunately, no, I'm kidding. No, I went to a game when I came to I think the opening of Diagon Alley.
Okay.
Like 2014, 3 years ago. I went to a game back then, and that was the first basketball game I've been to, and so I thought, well, that has to be my team from now on. So I sort of followed them ever since, and then over the last 18 months, I've been to loads of games down at Amway and got to meet a lot of the people down there. So big Magic fan now, and I'm trying to get as many people back home. I've got 2 friends back home that have signed up to the NBA package. They're watching in the early hours of the morning.
That's great.
Watching the Magic as well, so trying to spread that back home.
Well, if you ever come up to the Northeast in New England, I'll take you to a Celtics game, straight Boston. And
one of my good friends is a Celtics fan, and actually after COHP on the last night, we went up to my hotel room. We put it was Celtics Magic on the last night.
Oh wow!
And we went up to, or on the first night, so it was the Friday night, the first night, and we went to watch it. Been so excited all week. I was like, Joe, we've got this game on. You're a Celtics fan, Magic fan. It's going to be brilliant. By the time we turned it on, Magic were already like 25 points down, and it stayed that way for the rest of the game. And I was like, this sucks.
I'm telling you, it's that New England.
Yeah,
that's what we do up there in New England.
I got in a taxi a few months ago, and I asked we were talking about basketball with the driver, and I was like, so who do you support? And he was like, I support anybody except the Orlando Tragic. I was like, oh, come on. Give me a break.
That guy. Well, if you're listening, you're a jerk. Where can people get more information about the Leeds Rugby Foundation charity?
Oh, wow. Okay. So we have leedsrugby.co.uk is our main website. And that's the website for both the Leeds Rhinos and the Yorkshire Carnegie, which is our rugby union team. We also have a rugby union team as well.
Okay.
They're not quite as popular in Leeds, but we do have one. And that's also the website where you'll find all the information for the foundation, the charity wing. And what we try to do is, our tagline has been changing lives through sport. And it's the idea of taking, not just children, actually. We focus a lot with young people. And through sport, teaching not only fitness but leadership skills, teamwork skills, just various life skills that you require in life to succeed, but teaching it through a fun sports-based setting. But I mean, that's kind of the tip of the iceberg. There was a story I was told when I first signed up as a vice president about there was an elderly gentleman in his 60s who'd had been told by a doctor that if he didn't start exercising, he was going to die.
Wow.
I mean, he had real bad heart problems or whatever. And he walked, and him and his wife both had walked with Zimmer frames. And so he got involved with the foundation and said, "Hey guys, is there anything you can help with?" And they said, "Yeah." And they got him a dietitian, got him a diet. They got him a very training regime that was tailored towards him. He got his wife involved. Now neither of them use a Zimmer frame. Wow. They're both fit and healthy, and the doctors have said, "Yeah, you've made some real crucial life changes." And it's through that charity, through sport, just trying of changing mindsets and helping people to lead healthier, better lives, really.
Oh, thank you for that work. We really appreciate it. Where can they go again?
leedsrugby.co.uk.
leedsrugby.co.uk. Go there now and learn more.
Number 8.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're a gamer like Matt and myself, hopefully you've picked up Resident Evil 7. Have you picked up Resident Evil 7, Matt?
I have, actually, yeah. I've got it, but I've got it. I just got the VR headset.
Oh, yeah.
About a month ago, and I have not got very far on Resident Evil. Let's just say that, because it's terrifying when you've got that headset on. I'm particularly bad. I got a couple of games for it, and all of the games that are horror related scare me so much. But I love it. I mean, I love being scared.
Absolutely.
But Resident Evil is an incredible amount of tension in that game. It is very well done, and I have not got very far at all.
Yeah. The VR, they say, just adds a complete... I played it on Xbox, so I didn't play it with the VR and PlayStation, but they say it's just absolute... Because I got jump scared a million times in that game, and I never get jump scared.
Right.
But that game, and it just gets more and more intense.
Yeah, it's full on. I mean, there's something about physically being able to look over your shoulder behind you. You know, when you can hear all those noises around, and you know just what's through this door. You know what's there. But you have to physically do it. You have to move your head. You have to, step forward and look over your shoulder and make sure it adds a whole new element that when I got it, I didn't quite appreciate. I think it's going to take me some time to get through that game.
So your girl won't read the Killing Joke, so it's safe to say she won't put on that headset for Resident Evil?
Oh, no, not for Resident Evil. No, I put her on the Star Wars Battlefront, the X-Wing level, which she loved. I mean, she's not a huge Star Wars fan like me, but she still really enjoyed it. But anything that jumps out, I don't think I'm going to get her anywhere near that. No way.
Were you a big fan of Resident Evil, the prior games?
I'd only played one previously. I think it was number 5 on the Xbox, because I never had a PlayStation when I was younger. So all my friends at school had PlayStations, and I was always Sega. So I had the Dreamcast and the Saturn and whatnot, and I never got the original PlayStation. I got one at PS2. So a lot of my friends that were sort of playing Resident Evil on the first PlayStation, and they'll talk about it at school. I had no idea what it was. I'd never played it or got into it, which I kind of regret a little bit. I would have liked to have been able to start from the beginning.
Right.
And I've done that with a few games since that I'd never had a chance to play, like Uncharted. I went back and played 1, 2, and 3, so I could play 4. I completed the whole lot. So yeah, I'm quite late to the Resident Evil, but despite sweaty palms and a lot of stopping to catch myself for like 20 minutes and then going back to it, I am enjoying it. Yeah,
it's the way that they've reimagined the story and it ties in at some point. I think it's a masterpiece of a game, and it really have outdone themselves. I completed it.
Okay.
Over 9 hours of gameplay.
Right.
And I have an 11-year-old son too, so I wasn't really supposed to let him in the room and watch it, but he watched it and he loved it. So hopefully we turn on the newer generations. And speaking of the generational shift in love of video games, you've been in video games.
Yeah.
You've done voices for both the Harry Potter games and the Lego Dimensions and Lego Harry Potter. So what was that experience like?
That's a strange one. I remember when I think for my first experience of it really would have been probably Call of Duty when I first saw actors that I'd seen on TV and film being in video games, when we could finally get... I mean, you had voices and stuff sort of before, but then when you finally got like really decent cyber scanning and you could actually put people in games, now we got Kevin Spacey and stuff. Yeah. I thought, I wonder how that would be. Like, what would that be to do? Because I'm literally bringing two mediums that I love there. I love the acting side of stuff, and then I love video games, so to do them together. But it's tricky. It's a strange thing. Going into a recording studio, which are very kind of bare, which is a big sort of dark room with a microphone, and then you've got a guy in LA in an earpiece, thousands of miles away, telling you what to do and trying to describe to you what your character's doing, because they haven't really got any of the... Right. Well, I didn't have any of the footage that my character would be doing in the video game, so I had to imagine a lot of it. And you're not actually acting it out. There's no physical nature to it. And in fact, if you be too physical, they say, can you just stop moving your arms, because we're getting too much of that on the microphone. So if you can just stand perfectly still and then scream at the top of your lungs, that would be great. And it's quite difficult to try and get that because I remember playing games, like particularly sort of the Japanese RPGs, like Final Fantasy and stuff like that. Yeah. I think, why is the voice acting so appalling in this game? Now I know why. Because it's really difficult to conjure emotions and stuff when you just stood in a booth. And also you have to do multiple different things. So say your character's picking up a crate. You'd be like, okay, this is a light crate. So if you could just give us like a light grunt.
Right.
This is a heavy crate. So you've got to use a big grunt now. And you have to just sit there doing 3 different versions of ugh, ugh. And it's pretty stressful. And you're there for hours. And I mean, when you see it in the final product, it's all put together. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But when you're in that recording studio, you feel ridiculous. Yeah.
Somewhere there was just a kid that was like, "That's Neville picking up a crate."
Yeah, exactly. They just know, and they'll know if it's not you.
Right.
They'll know.
So, and Lego Dimensions was fairly recently. That's kind of a newer thing.
Yeah, that was a strange one as well, because they asked me, it was only last year, and they said to me, do you want to do this video game? I was like, yeah, absolutely. It's Lego Dimensions, brilliant, to play Neville Longbottom. I was like, ooh, I've not done that in 6 years. I don't even know what he sounds like. I've seen all the films once, like at the premiere, so I don't even know what he sounds like. What I did back then, I finished when I was 20, 21. So I had to go back, and I watched the first movie to try and remember sort of the physicality of him, the way, because with characters, well, like Neville, for example, with all characters, but specifically with characters like Neville, the physicality, the body language that you inhabit helps to create the character so much. And with Neville, for example, he was very slouched down, didn't raise his head very much because he was quite shy, and as soon as you do that, you take on a whole new character, and so I had to go back and watch how I moved, or how Neville moved, and then once that happened, then very quickly the voice and the character sort of just fit into place. Like I've been doing it for years, like the autopilot sort of takes over then. But yeah. I definitely did need to go back and just go over it. I wasn't sure I was going to get into the recording studio and be able to do it. Yeah. Especially not try and make myself sound like because I think in the I'm not sure what age he is in Lego Dimensions, but
it's like not the youngest, but not the oldest, pretty much right now.
Definitely not 27.
No.
So I had to. I had no idea if I was going to be able to do it, but I think they seem pretty happy with it. Anyway,
absolutely.
I think I haven't played it, but.
And would you do more, voice acting in video games, not as Neville necessarily, but just as other characters? Is something that interests you?
Absolutely. I mean, again, much like comics, I think over the last 10 years, but I mean, particularly in the last 5 years, as a piece of art, as a medium, video games have surpassed anyone's expectations, I think, in terms of character building, storytelling, and performance. I mean, The Last of Us I'm playing through again for maybe the 4th time.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've been as impacted by a journey taken by characters who I truly care about and love, like that, or as much as that in any film,
wow, in
any book, or previous video game that I've played, and that's a testament to the performances of Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson and Neil Druckmann's storytelling, yeah, which is unparalleled. I mean, the Uncharted games are a testament to that as well. And Naughty Dog really are at the pinnacle of that at the minute. And absolutely, I would to do something of that caliber, of that quality, to be able to tell a story. A bit like a novel that I don't think you get in films, but because you play it for so many hours,
right, and
you are so focused. You can't look at your phone while you're doing it. You can't be distracted by other people. You are just focused and immersed in this video game. The emotional response and attachment that you get to these characters is unparalleled, and so to be able to tell a story as an actor and to have that much attention in this modern day environment where people are so easily distracted, I think would be an incredible honor. I'd love to do something like that.
Well, out there, people listening,
Neil, give me a job.
Let's make it happen. Yeah. And everybody at home, grab Lego Dimensions and be Neville Longbottom.
Number 7.
Well, we all know my favorite place on earth is Universal Orlando Resort. Who doesn't love Universal?
I don't think there's anybody.
Right, Matt, there's not one person, and if they are, they're certainly not listening. Universal has holds the Harry Potter, or the celebration of Harry Potter, excuse me, and it's been going on for a few years now. You've been here every single time, so if you can, just tell everybody out there, what it is, and the role that you play when you're here.
Well, it's kind of just a coming together of the fan base. Really, it's a place to come for a weekend, and there's a whole host of activities that are on. There is workshops. There's Paul Harris. There's a wand masterclass workshop. There's many different panels where you can go and watch Q&As involving actors. That's what we've done every year. You get some of the behind-the-scenes team. So Nick Dudman was there this year, who worked in our creature effects department. Nick Dudman's actually a fascinating character. He not only did he oversee and create all of our creatures and do all of our makeup effects. Nick Dudman blood is if you're into the horror genre, is the gold standard of fake blood.
Oh, nice.
Around the world. I mean, the amount of jobs that I've gone on to, and you just see Nick Dudman blood on the counter. I don't think it's drawn from him personally. I think he does.
It's a catchy name too.
He does to make it himself. But yeah, it's everyone uses it. It's very, very popular. So I'm sure in a lot of the horror movies you've seen, Walking Dead probably use it.
Yeah.
So Nick Dudman was here this year, and then he talks about all that kind of stuff. And then you've got as well as the panels, there's autograph sessions, and there's just events going on for the whole weekend for Harry Potter fans. Everyone comes in costume. You can meet like-minded people. I think it's just it's a bit like a convention where you just get a lot of people who are into the same thing. They come together and you just embrace it for 3 days.
Yeah, it's a convention in the coolest place there is.
Absolutely.
So that obviously they can go to Diagon Alley, they can go over to Hogsmeade, and then they can meet you all. And
so you're having a celebration of Harry Potter in the world, in the wizarding world, and I mean, there's nowhere else that you can do that.
Yeah. So, and let's talk a little bit more about that. So when they originally opened the Wizarding World, what were your thoughts when you first experienced it?
When I first
first time
got there,
you got here.
It was quite mind blowing, because when we were on the set at the studio in England, our sets were designed to film a movie on. So, they were half complete. They had walls taken out. There was no roof on the top of it. It was very rare that we had a complete 3D completed set. There was a couple, but not many. And even the Great Hall, they'd take walls out. They had there was no ceiling, so we could have the cranes come into the room. And so to to suddenly step onto the world that you've known but have had to imagine
right,
just as much as everyone else, to suddenly step onto it and it's been completed in its entirety, was very surreal. It was very odd. And there's a thing that's part of the American culture, particularly when it comes to entertainment and theme parks, is that you guys just don't do anything by half. Like, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it.
right.
So, some of the theme parks in England are very tired. Everything's breaking apart, falling apart. You can see some guy smoking a cigarette just over the fence next to you. Whereas here, it's like, it's all meant to maintain the immersion at all times.
Right.
You walk onto there and you've got snow on the rooftops, and you can't figure out why you're not freezing, because you feel like you're actually in this environment, you're in this world, and that's not something we often get to experience as actors. We have to imagine that, and I'd say it would make our job a lot easier if we could come and just shoot at Universal the whole time.
Right.
But it was great. I was blown away, and so and proud as well. You never expect, like, okay, maybe they do something like that in England. But to come, across the Atlantic to the United States and have that monument to the little thing that you did for a few years is just, it's crazy. It was such a humbling moment, and very proud, I think.
Yeah, and you should be. And everything from the Gringotts to the Forbidden Journey to the Butterbeer to what is your personal favorite part of the Wizarding World?
there's so much of it. I did really enjoy Gringotts when I first went into it, because I never got to shoot on Gringotts as a location. I never went there. I mean, I walked onto the set briefly when I was on a break, but I never actually was able to go on there when it was fully dressed and all the people were in place. So to walk into there for the first time was quite remarkable, because it's stuff like that you get to experience as a fan. Like, anything that I was a part of is tainted slightly in that when you're working on the same set for weeks and months on end, you start the novelty wears off.
Yeah,
I hate this place, that kind of thing. But then when you get to walk into a set that you've not been involved in, the magic is still there. You are transported back to being a kid, reading the books, and you're a fan again. I had it when I walked into the Chamber of Secrets set, which was one that we almost, very nearly, 90% of it was there. Again, still no roof and stuff, but it was mostly there. Even all the side tunnels and the entrance door, it was all there.
Nice.
And that was in a big aeroplane hangar at Leeds Studios. And I went up there for the first time, and I went up there on my own, and I could just hear that dripping sound that you have in the movie that just echoes. And there's water everywhere, and it's very surreal. And I remember being just so excited, because it was like stepping into a video game, into a Elder Scrolls game or something. I was like,
nice.
I've just uncovered some dungeon. I'm on a quest, and as a kid, that was amazing. But I imagine if I'd shot on there for like 6 months, I would have hated it.
You'd be like, that dripping, stop the dripping.
Yeah. So stuff like that is what makes the difference. And so to be able to come here and see Gringotts, that was a real highlight for me.
And you can see it daily on people's faces, and I'm sure the celebration, you must have seen it, tenfold. And your character that you played, Neville, is such a beloved character, and he made some stuff happen too, Yeah. So, what kind of reactions were you getting from, in general, what kind of reactions do you get?
I never really know what to expect when you come here, because as much as we're aware of the popularity of it, it's still very hard to get your head around the fact that people in other countries around the world are aware of you and what you've done.
Right.
And that you have had an effect on their lives in some way. That's what art's meant to do, isn't it? As in film, music, television, video games, whatever, we're all trying to tell stories that affect people, that move people, change opinions, whatever. But you never appreciate that until you actually meet the people that have been affected. I just went to work and did my job, and then now I come here and you meet people that say that I was heavily bullied at school. I was very depressed as a kid, and then I watched Neville and his story inspired me to do something about that, to better myself, to realize that I was worth more than people were telling me I was at that time. And that's more of a testament to Joe's storytelling and the character that Joe created. And I wouldn't want to take any credit for that from her. But then the fact that it's through the films is that people directly associate that with you as the actor. And I just wanted to do my best by Joe's story, but if you have that impact on people, it is incredibly it's hard to put into words. It's an immense privilege that I can't quite get my head around, but I feel an amount of duty, I guess, and seriousness that comes with that. You have a responsibility with characters like that have that much of an impact on people. So I guess I feel very glad that people enjoyed it, I guess. Yeah. Enjoyed the interpretation of it, but I would still insist it was very much Joe's material. It was all there for us. We didn't have to do very much. It was all there. But for Neville, and on the whole, it's an incredible response that I get from people. One that I appreciate very much and never expected.
Yeah. There's a very big lesson to be learned there. So the shy kid who will do the right thing could very well turn out to be the heartthrob of the entire group, like you have. So there's a lesson to be learned. So young ladies, keep your eyes peeled for those guys, because this is what they turn into. And also, at Universal, some amazing things are opening up. Race to New York starring Jimmy Fallon. Volcano Bay is now opening in May. You're going to be taking some time to check out all those cool things.
Volcano Bay is the one that I think I'm the most excited about.
It looks phenomenal.
I used to go to Wet n Wild every time I came over. The last time I came over and I went to Wet n Wild was in February last year, and it was empty. We were the only people in there. Me and my mate Dave had gone down. We were like, this is really warm today, being from England, the north of England, no less. But all the Floridians were like, hell no, this is freezing. We ain't going near Wet n Wild. So we had the whole place to ourselves. It was great. So I recommend any English people who are over, not this year, but next February, go to Volcano Bay, because it'll be just yours. It was brilliant. So that's what I'm most looking forward to. I love water parks. I mean, we just can't do them at home,
right?
Especially not outdoors anyway. I mean, we have a couple that are indoors, but obviously they're sort of constricted by the location.
Yeah.
So to be able to come and have a water park outside, and one that you're then allowed to build a huge, massive volcano in the middle with all the slides that come with that. That is something that we don't get very often at home, so that's always my favorite.
Well, you're going to get it here starting on May 25th. Universal Orlando, just when you think it cannot get better, it does. Now, 3 amazing theme parks. Everybody, you have to go to universalorlando.com to book your vacation. Check out Volcano Bay. Go to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and feel like Neville immersed in the Wizarding World.
Number 6.
I'm Poppy. 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 I am Poppy. I'm Poppy. I'm Poppy. I'm Poppy. I'm Poppy. I'm Poppy.
Well, I am Dave. I am certainly not Poppy, but boy, is she just lighting it up. We're talking about viral videos, viral, memes of that nature. But I am Poppy. 10-minute video of a girl saying that she's Poppy. Matt, I just showed you.
What do you want me to say? I'm speechless by it. I don't. What if, Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the World Wide Web, and all the boffins in the American military who spent years perfecting the internet, and all that we've achieved through this globalization of the world. What would you think they would think of seeing what it's being used for today?
They would not be happy.
I mean,
no.
Wow.
I am Poppy over and over. And, I mean, if we wanted to, and we've picked some gems on this show before. We had Kazoo Kid last month when we had Joey Fatone. Kazoo Kid is a great one. We had Sweet Brown. Ain't nobody got time for that. Good old Sweet Brown. And I Am Poppy, I think, could be, the epitome of these people become overnight sensations with just bizarre content.
I think that people have just got bored of stuff. Like, people don't need it to be funny anymore. It's just anything. We're just like, I think it might be a big joke. It might all be a big conspiracy that goes right to the top, where people are just like, what can we make famous that is the stupidest, most pointless thing in the world, to see how we can manipulate the world? Like, what can we do? Let's take a girl for 10 minutes just saying, I am Poppy, and make it famous. If we can do that, then we've got everyone. We've got them all.
Absolutely.
And they've done it. That's it.
I really think it's a living in the moment type of situation. Because does she want to tell her grandchildren someday, like, we bought this house because I am Poppy?
Well, I mean, at least you don't have to tell anyone her name anymore.
Fair enough.
Time. Introductions have gone now. Everyone knows that. Sorry, what's your name?
Yeah.
Guys, come on.
Really, please.
3.5 million people know what my name is.
Right.
I shouldn't be having to tell you by now.
and wow. And, to further illustrate the point, we talked about it's just become, to become famous. It's just bizarre, just out there. But sometimes this stuff gets pretty serious. Especially in the case of PewDiePie is coming under heavy fire. Disney has pulled away from him, ending their relationship with him. YouTube says they're not going to put big sponsors on him anymore, big ads. It's being said he was getting into some supposedly anti-Semitic type of stuff, and just seems to be a kind of and I'll say it. It's cool. I'll say it for everybody in the studio. Just a vile individual.
It's. I mean, a lot of it comes from a shock factor that people want. When you've got a lot of people, anyone can pick up an iPhone and make a YouTube channel. and start posting stuff online. And you've got an incredibly saturated market where everyone's fighting over advertisements and views and airtime and whatever. And it's just, well, what is going to get me column inches? What is going to get my name out there? And then eventually all ideals of decency and morality just go out the window. And until people like Disney and advertisers say no, until they draw the line and say that is too far. We don't care how many times your name's been in the press this week. We don't care how many more viewers you've got because of this. The line is here, and you've crossed it. That's game over. And until companies start doing that, so kudos to them. Then it's just going to get worse and worse, and common decency is going to go out the window. And I am a big believer in comedy, and I don't think there's a huge amount that is sacred in comedy. But when it's not funny, when it's not even an attempt to be funny, you're just saying the most outrageous, disgusting, repulsive thing. Whether you believe it or not is irrelevant, because we have a problem at the minute where online, especially, things are becoming mainstream or acceptable just because they're talked about frequently, and everyone, whether it's racism or anti-Semitism or sexism or whatever, these things are now becoming commonplace. And the more commonplace they become, the more people appease that language and behaviour, the more people who actually have those views feel emboldened to use it and to say it, and it becomes institutional, and no one cares anymore, and so we need more people to start drawing lines. And I'm not talking about clamping down on free speech or whatever, because absolutely it's his right to say it, by all means. No one's going to stop you from saying it, but there's absolutely no reason why we should be giving you money to say that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So that's what I think.
No, and so do you think somebody like PewDiePie, and again, I also think that he just goes over the line. It's not so much like Howard Stern was a shock jock and made things. But I think this PewDiePie does go over the line. Do you think he's a product of this environment, or do you think that he's contributed to creating this environment?
Well, I mean, probably both.
Yeah.
I mean, it's self-sustaining. Once someone, you're created in this environment, and you realize that you have a market for it, and you sell it, and it's pretty good. You got a pretty good response from that. Maybe I'll go a little bit further, and a little bit further, and then other people want a piece of your pie, and they go, well, he got it from doing that, I'm going to do the same thing, and it all just breeds more. And until we stop giving it the time of day, and again, not banning anything, but just not supporting it either, is a big difference.
Right.
And I think you could happily say he's a victim, because ultimately there are people paying, there are people viewing and watching and defending, and it's kind of the moral question that you get with some people who do choice, like a Piers Morgan, for example. Do you guys know Piers Morgan?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, what a shame. So he just says outrageous things that are ridiculous, and he thinks, what's the most offensive, stupid, non-conformist thing that I can say that's going to get me in the paper? And that's fine if you're cynically going to take money off that. But when you realise that is having a direct negative impact on the actual world, and people are buying into what you're saying at face value, and not taking it as you just money grabbing or cynically just saying things, when they're taking it at face value and thinking you're a hero of those attitudes, then that's the point at which you have to say, I've sold my soul, I cannot do this anymore.
Right.
And if you can't do that, then you're as bad as the people who genuinely believe that stuff, if not worse.
Right. And I mean, like it is kind of that aspect of it is kind of a cesspool of self-perpetuating just gross stuff. But the other side of viral and the other side of this YouTube world is also fun tributes. Like all the Harry Potter content out there. Alohomora is one of my favorite YouTube videos. I love it. People just mix, different clips and music and whatnot. And are you familiar with that? And are you familiar with, the Potter Puppet Pals?
Yeah, I've been sent that a few times.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that stuff?
Well, then you get to the other side of the internet, which is the the wonderful side that I think when those boffins were creating it, probably had no idea what they were going to unleash, and the idea of hidden talent all over the world, people's abilities, creativity, and ideas, imagination that we now have through YouTube, singers that would never have been discovered because they live in Calcutta somewhere, and then suddenly they've put a YouTube video on and they have the voice of an angel, and someone in LA has seen the video, and that would never have been possible, 30 years ago. And so that side of the internet suddenly is a beacon of light. And I think it's brilliant. And I think the fact that, with Twitter, for example, that if you have a hero or an inspiration, that you can send this stuff directly to them,
right,
and they can see it. You could have poured, there's people who, I'm not saying I'm anyone's hero or inspiration, but people who have spent hours drawing pictures of me, and maybe they might have sent it in fan mail, it might have got lost, they might not have ever got to me at all. Now they can just send it directly to me on Twitter, and I can see it. And I go, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing that with me. I did it. I sent a tweet to Dwayne Johnson a few months ago because I just think, as someone who, I read his autobiography. It's one of 2 autobiographies that I've ever finished. I'm not really a non-fiction reader, and I've only managed to finish 2, and his was one of them, the first one I ever read. And for someone who has come from nothing and suffered so much adversity, but through actually just working hard, getting in the gym at stupid o'clock in the morning,
right,
and realizing his weaknesses, and also realizing his strengths and focusing on those, and he's someone who wasn't a great actor when he started, but you can quite clearly see that he's worked and pushed his strengths, and now he's the most bankable actor in Hollywood.
Right.
And I just literally wrote to him I just read an article about him talking about people in his last movie not pulling their weight.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was the most inspiring thing. And I just wrote to him and said, I just want to say you're a huge inspiration, both professionally, on acting, diet, training, and just get up and go, basically. And he wrote back and saying, really appreciate it, it's really important, blah, blah, blah. Where else could that have possibly happened? And so that kind of level of interaction and that connected nature that we all share now, that's the bit of the internet that is brilliant. I love all those viral stuff. I'm always watching stuff like that, and the memes and stuff like that. It's great.
Yeah.
And it brings us together, It used to be that you all had to watch the same channel at the same time, so you could go into school the next day and go, "Did you watch that last night?" "No, I didn't. I missed it. Sorry, I was doing something else." Now, with this nature, everyone's seen that meme. Everyone's seen that viral video ever, and you can all just brings people together. It's conversation starters. Maybe I Am Poppy, slightly less so, but there's stuff out there. People go, "Oh my god, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. Brilliant." It brings people together. I think it's great.
It gives you a break in the day.
Yeah.
A long, arduous day. If you have 10 minutes to kill, just watch I Am Poppy.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely. Just if only so you can talk about it around the water cooler on your break at work.
There it is.
Yeah.
And so there it is. So everybody, I Am Poppy. Watch the Potter Puppet Pals and Aloha Mora if you smell what Matthew Lewis is cooking.
Lovely.
Number 5.
I, Dave Solo, am a proud Slytherin, and I found this out on Pottermore. You're obviously very familiar with Pottermore, right? Where folks can go on. The wizarding world has been completely expanded and opened up. There's stories, there's little Easter eggs, there's gems everywhere. You can find out what house you belong in. And again, proud Slytherin. That's me. Your character, Neville, was obviously a Gryffindor. Yeah. Have you gone on Pottermore and taken it yourself?
I have, and I have to be really careful how I talk about this now because
fair enough.
Because I'm a Hufflepuff, and I was incredibly disappointed with this, and I made it known, and got a remarkable backlash from the Harry Potter community. Apparently, Hufflepuff is nothing to be ashamed of, and many Hufflepuffs explained to me why. I stand by my disappointment. I didn't want to be a Hufflepuff. I think it's rubbish. But yeah, lots of people tell me that that's a bad opinion to have, and that Hufflepuffs are okay, but whatever.
I think that opinion kind of makes you a Slytherin. So is that
Right.
what you want it to be?
I mean, just something that's gonna have an impact on something,
Yeah.
some kind of story. I mean, come on, who's the Hufflepuff? Who have they got? Who in Hufflepuff has had any influence on anything to do with Harry Potter?
They're like that guy,
Cedric Diggory, the guy
Yeah.
that died in the one
became
film.
the vampire.
Was
guy.
in one book and then he died.
The head guy of Hufflepuff. He did stuff.
Rubbish. I want to be someone who has an impact in something, someone who matters.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're Neville Longbottom, so that's pretty good.
Gryffindor. This is
Was that what you, in going into it, did you think it was going to come up Gryffindor?
I hoped it would do.
Yeah.
I always. I mean, when you read the book, surely most people think that they hold the qualities to be a Gryffindor.
Yeah.
I think. I was hoping that I did, but sadly not. I don't even know what qualities or lack thereof a Hufflepuff has. I don't know what they're supposed to have. What does it mean to be a Hufflepuff? Anyone know? No one know?
You're very very cheery.
Very cheery.
Yeah, if you're a joyful type of human being,
Right.
you enjoy the fun things of life, and
You're giving me cheery.
that's Hufflepuff. I think really is like the life of the party. That's the thing.
In a battle situation, you're giving me morale. That's
Yeah,
what I am.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Everybody
Very
needs a
useful.
pat on the back.
Very useful.
At some point. You're fun. Hufflepuff, it'd be boring without Hufflepuff.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the other co-hosts on my other podcast, Christina, she's a Hufflepuff, and it's life of the party. Always makes it fun, so yeah.
But what happens when the laughing stops, though? That's what I want to know.
That's when the Slytherins, we just take over and just clean up. Yeah.
Right.
No, and that's funny, too, because I thought I was a Gryffindor. I wanted to be a Gryffindor. I actually have right there. Yeah. But it turns up I'm a Slytherin. So,
Okay.
And Pottermore is what told me that. So it just goes to show you, Pottermore can be filled, with new discoveries, maybe some disappointment.
If you think that's disappointing, I got my Patronus the other day as well. I don't even know if I'm allowed to tell you that. I don't know if it's been released yet. Must have been, surely.
It's released that you can, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a cat,
That's good.
a tortoise shell cat. I don't even know what that is.
Maybe a tortoiseshell cat?
Like, it's not a cat with a tortoise shell.
Does it have tortoiseshell glasses,
No,
perhaps?
it's literally. I think it's the color of it is what.
Oh, that's
the
nice. Like
same
marbled, almost.
Color of, yeah, I guess.
That's nice. It's like a brindle cat.
That's rubbish. It's rubbish. What did you get? Have you got one?
I haven't done it on Pottermore yet.
I know people who've got
Yeah.
like stallions, like white stallions,
Absolutely.
and like crazy mad like birds and stuff. I've got a cat, an ungrateful cat.
The Hufflepuff with an ungrateful cat.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, there are thousands of children right now who are just crying.
I just think that
I was going to think you were going to say rhino. I was like rhino,
Right?
rhino.
I mean, that would have been obvious. That would have been.
That
I mean,
would've
and the worst thing is it teased me as well. I was going through it. It goes, "Ooh, I can see those fangs and sharp claws." I was like, "I'm going to get a dragon. This is straight up happening." And there's a cat.
It was a cat. There's really not much more to say
No.
besides people need to go to Pottermore right now. Find out what house you're in. And then if you still have the intestinal fortitude, go forward and find out what your Patronus is. I haven't done it yet. So.
It will tell you more about you than you ever wanted to know, I think. It's good. It is cool, though. It's a cool little feature. I do enjoy the house one especially, all the questions and stuff. It was a lot of fun.
That's great. And they have I remember at the celebration they have it set up as well, and people can check it out and,
All right,
and
sweet.
go into it. And there's so much on there. So if you love Harry Potter like I do, or if you were in Harry Potter, you definitely check out Pottermore and find out your house and your Patronus. And please, if you get Hufflepuff, let us know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to tell somebody. You're going to have to get it off your chest at some point. Shoulder to cry on. You're going to need it. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure Hufflepuff are great. It's fine.
Number 4.
Oh, Adele. It appears that she has nothing else to be sad about in life because the Grammys just passed. And boy, did she clean up, right? Album of the year, song of the year, record of the year, best pop solo performance, best pop vocal album, A Partridge in a Pear Tree. She cleaned it all up. The lovely Adele.
How do you continue to write sort of emotional, powerful, sad music when you're so happy? When you've won everything?
Maybe she's a Hufflepuff.
She got sorted and she got a whole album
Right.
lined up about her Patronus and everything. It's funny because Noel Gallagher once said, like, people talking about how what's to explain the sort of the quality of Oasis albums not being as strong as Say Definitely Maybe and What's Story, Money, Glory and whatever.
Yeah.
He said, look, I was writing songs about being working class and queuing up for my dole money, and now I'm worth £88 million. I can't write that music anymore.
Right.
I have to write about, other stuff. And I always wonder with musicians, like, once you start from a perspective where people can relate to you, suddenly you become completely unrelatable because you've won everything and you've got millions of pounds. Like, how can you still write with that same emotional context if you just don't have it anymore? I wonder if it's difficult. I mean, I've no experience to base that on. I'm just curious.
It must be difficult. And I think of someone who, I'm a huge fan, not of Adele so much, but of like an Eminem. Like, I love his first album because it was about the struggle almost.
Right.
But then when there is no struggle,
It must be so difficult.
what do you write about?
Yeah, I mean, rap and hip-hop is especially, as a genre, must be incredibly difficult to keep that perspective, I think.
Yeah. But Adele, she killed it. At the Grammys, she continues to kill it. Beyonce was there with the very revealing outfit.
Yeah.
Very pregnant. And James Corden hosted. He's hilarious. He got excellent reviews. And apparently, it was a good time.
I enjoyed the because I didn't watch the Grammys, but I did catch up on a couple of the clips, and it was so charming, and so full of humility when Adele chose to redo the George Michael tribute.
Yeah.
To stop and say, no, this isn't good enough. I thought that was a real microscope on her personality. I felt that she could have just carried on whatever, and she just went, you know what? No, this isn't right. I'm doing this for somebody else, not for me. I'm going to stop. I'm going to potentially embarrass myself, but I'm going to make sure I do this right for him. And I thought it was a very brave thing to do.
Yeah. No, she seems just like a very down-to-earth, very respectable person. Very hilarious, too. She did carpool karaoke with James Corden,
okay,
which I thought was
I saw
absolutely
her
phenomenal.
On Ellen when she had the earpiece in that store when she was getting like a smoothie or something. That was funny.
Yeah.
That was funny. She does seem like a lot of fun.
It's Hufflepuff.
Is she actually a Hufflepuff?
She has to be a Hufflepuff. I don't know. They're a lot of fun.
I
They're
bet
cheery.
She is.
Yeah.
I bet she is. If she is, fine. I'll take it.
Now you're good?
I'll take it.
Done. See? We make things happen here at the Pop 10. We heal wounds. That's
I need
what we're
proof
after.
first. Come on now.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. We'll bubble patch her in. and music overall, speaking of music, we alluded to it earlier. What are your music tastes?
Quite old-fashioned, I'd say. A few modern things, but I mean, most of my inspirations all come from like the Beatles and stuff from I love the 60s rock and roll, and then even further, Elvis and that kind of stuff. And then if you were to fast forward a couple of decades, again, it's quite eclectic. Like, I can listen to anything.
Sure.
But in stuff that I actually love, you fast forward to like the Britpop era, the 90s with Oasis, Verve, Pulp, and Stone Roses, and all those bands that actually were heavily influenced by the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. I love all that. That's kind of that's what I grew up on with Oasis and stuff. And then with modern day stuff, again, I can listen to it, but there's not a whole lot of music that speaks to me today, really. I think the Arctic Monkeys are someone who are consistently releasing music even now that I can resonate with personally. They're from very close to where I grew up. They're from a city called Sheffield, which is very close to Leeds. So they're very similar kind of feelings when the stuff they talk about in their songs and stuff is very, very close. But yeah, apart from that, there's not a huge amount of modern stuff. I'm quite a bit of a granddad when it comes to music, I'm afraid.
So do you ever venture out and go see tribute bands, or is there any? Have you seen Arctic Monkeys or?
Yeah, I've seen Arctic Monkeys before, which was pretty cool. I was fortunate enough to I've seen Paul McCartney a couple of times. I actually met him after a gig once.
Wow,
which was pretty mind blowing for me. I mean, I'm still a huge fan, but at that time, it was in 2010. I remember it because England had just been beaten 4-1 by Germany in the World Cup on my birthday. And I was very miserable, but I was going to go see Paul McCartney in the evening, so that cheered me up. And then we went to his after party thinking it was just going to be a very sort of just full of people, really. There'd be hundreds of people there. It'd be very informal. And then when we got there was like 10 people there, and he was one of them. It was the strangest thing. He was just sat in the corner with his missus, and I thought, well, I have to go just shake his hand.
Absolutely.
So I went and shook his hand. Slightly disappointed. It's a vegetarian buffet. Slightly disappointed by that, but he's sticking true to his guns. I'll give him that. But no, he was really lovely, and he said happy birthday, and it was really cool. And I was just like, that's an actual beetle right there. It's the first time I've ever been completely speechless, like starstruck. I was with my friend Tom, and we were talking to his drummer. We'd approached his drummer first because I thought that'd be a good in.
It's a good move.
And I wanted to ask him a few genuine questions about, Paul McCartney. How are you drumming for Paul McCartney?
Sure. And
so he just told me all that story, and he was really fascinating, really, really nice bloke. And then out of nowhere, this hand just like comes in between us, puts one hand on his shoulder and one on mine. He goes, "Do you know where the toilet is?" And I was Paul McCartney, and I was just like, I'd just been for a pee like 2 minutes before, and I was like, no. And the drummer was like, "It's just down there." Told him where it was, and he went away. And I was just like, "I'm really sorry, I couldn't speak then. I couldn't get it out." He's like, "Don't worry, I got it the first time as well."
Nice.
And then so after that, I went over and I was like, "Hey, I'm really sorry about that earlier. I didn't know where the toilet was. I just wanted to apologise. Couldn't really speak." And he was really cool. He was great, and the bar tab was on him, so that was nice.
Oh, made up for the vegetarian buffet.
Yeah. You can let him off. But so like to meet, Paul McCartney was pretty special. So any kind of live music, I have, if it's someone who I'm really just a huge fan of, it's there's nothing quite like it.
Absolutely. Well, if anybody ever gets a chance to go see Adele, make sure you do it, because who knows how long she's going to be able to write this music.
That's exactly true, yeah.
But a huge congratulations goes out to Adele for her big night at the Grammys.
Number 3.
Michael Myers is coming back in a brand new Halloween film. And this one is not, it's not a reboot, or rebooty as we call it. It's not a direct sequel. It's going to pick up after the second Halloween film. John Carpenter's producing, so he's definitely involved, and it's shaping up to be pretty cool. Are you a big horror guy at all?
I do like horror films, but I find it very difficult to find a good one. I'm quite particular about what scares me, what's ridiculous, what's just too gory or whatever. I've never seen a Halloween movie.
Oh no,
that's terrible, isn't it?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of time.
Yeah,
to catch up.
I did go in the Halloween house.
Halloween Horror Nights.
Halloween Horror Nights. Yeah. That was pretty intense. That was good. But I've the first horror film I ever saw, my brother showed me Nightmare on Elm Street when I was 8 years old, and I couldn't sleep for like a week.
Yeah.
I used to sit on the stairs until my parents went to bed, and they used to shout at me so much to get to bed, but I couldn't do it. But I mean, if I watched that now, that wouldn't scare me now. The kind of movies that scare me now are the last one I saw that really, The Conjuring.
Yeah,
those kind of movies, Paranormal Activity, those
right.
kind of films. I struggle with any kind of real narrative films like a Halloween or whatever. But a film that's kind of more like that, where it's stuff that happens around the house when you're on your own, that stuff freaks me out.
Yeah. And in general, then, how do you feel about this? It seems not that recent, but this movement in Hollywood where we're bringing things back to life, Ghostbusters, and Freddy versus Jason, and we're just trying to drum up all this nostalgia.
Yeah, I kind of same with horror films, really, in terms of that it's just very difficult to be done well.
Yeah. Right.
It's Star Wars has done it. I went to I was fortunate enough to go to the premiere of The Force Awakens, and I just loved it. I just had the most amazing time. Just took me back to be a kid and watching the first one, and it was superb, and I loved that sense of nostalgia. There was enough of a nod to it, but then they didn't sully any of it, like some other Indiana Jones other movies.
Right.
But it's very difficult to do it well, and I do feel sometimes when people take a name of something and they claim it's a sequel or it's a reboot, I feel like it's a cheap gimmick to get bums on seats.
Yeah.
I think that when you take a a well-loved movie and you say we're going to redo it with so-and-so, and then you change the complete storyline, you do it a whole different way. I'm like, this is a different movie.
Right.
But you didn't have the faith in your script to call it something else.
Wow.
So you decided to name it after a classic, brilliant film and steal a fan base because your film was that bad.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that about all of them at all.
Sure.
But I think that happens a lot of the time. And I think people should have more faith in their films and not just fall back on a name that someone else has worked very hard to cultivate.
Right.
And they should say, no, this is our movie. We wrote this. It's got our actors in it. And here's what it is. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
I just think it's very cynical. But then at the same time, I think there is still a place for it in if it's done well, if it's done with the right people. Again, Star Wars as a real beacon of that.
Yeah, and the right people. John Carpenter's involved.
Yeah.
So I have faith it's going to be good. I think we need this in the horror community right now. Our sister podcast, Walker Nation, we're all about horror, we're all about Walking Dead. So I think in the horror world, we need this pretty badly right now.
If you get the original creatives on board,
right?
Again, doesn't always work out. But if you do get the original creatives on board and they're proud of what they're offering, because it's their original movie that's at stake. It's their reputation.
Sure.
If you get a whole bunch of people, they don't care how they sully the name of the previous thing. But if you get the original people, then I think that is straight away the starting block that you need in place for it to be decent.
Yeah.
And it looks like they've got that. So fingers crossed.
John Carpenter, do not move. Keep him in a bubble because 2018, we need a brand new, amazing Halloween film.
Number 2.
This past Sunday, as we record, really belonged to the dead as The Walking Dead came back with its season 7B mid-season premiere to rave reviews. I know I've talked about it on my 18 different podcasts that I do. And we live on the Walker Stalkers. We had Ross Marquand joined us, who plays Aaron. I know you're not up to date, so you haven't really seen it. And I'm sure that you saw the controversy over last season of Negan and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was pretty phenomenal. So you got plans to catch up, right? You're going to binge.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm going to get through it without a doubt. It's just finding a bit of time, really.
Right.
When you got hour-long episodes and 45 minutes, whatever they are. Just finding the time to shoot. I mean, I'm watching so many shows at the minute that Walking Dead seems to be falling behind. But I am definitely gonna catch up. I've seen 2 seasons. Yeah. I managed to get through 2, and I really enjoyed it.
You're right on the cusp, man. 3 was my favorite season.
It's about to happen, isn't it?
3 has the governor. 3 is,
right.
which you're familiar with in the books.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Definitely not that governor.
David Morrissey.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Which is an odd casting when I saw that.
Yeah.
From having read the graphic novel.
Yeah, in the graphic novel, he's a thin Hispanic guy with a handlebar mustache.
Exactly.
And then you get David Morrissey. But it couldn't have cast it any better.
Okay.
He's phenomenal.
Interesting.
A phenomenal human being, too. He's a great guy.
Is he?
Yeah. But he that's the season, man. You got to start 3.
I'm there. I'm ready.
I'm
ready to go. I finished 2.
But let's talk some of your work on TV, right? Let's talk Ripper Street as Sergeant Drummond.
Yeah.
Bang. So this show set in the East End of London, 1889, and it's after all the Jack the Ripper horrible stuff and things.
Exactly. So. It takes place. The show starts immediately after the Jack the Ripper murders, when they've closed the investigation, and they haven't caught him. And it's how the police force of that era, or of that area, Whitechapel in London, where it all happened, they are coming to terms with that failure. No one in the streets feels safe, particularly the women, and they all feel they've let down the community. I mean, the place is crime-ridden anyway, but this particular serial killer, because it was so grisly, they feel like they've let down the community, and there's an era of fear. And so the policeman who was in charge of that investigation, played by Matthew McFadden, he feels a personal responsibility, and he thinks about how he can do better, basically. How can we improve the police force? How can we improve the Metropolitan Police so that this never happens again? So it kind of brings in... It spans quite a few years, actually, the show, over the 5 seasons. And we see various technological advancements in the war against crime, and as Sergeant Drummond, I end up being promoted to detective eventually by season 5, and I get out of uniform from behind the desk. But as
spoiler alert,
as Sergeant Drummond, I was kind of at the forefront of that. One of the young sergeants that had been brought into the police force, and much more cerebral and more like Reed, McFadden's character, actually. Less of a blunt instrument like Jerome Flynn's character. Much more of a thinking copper, and he's heavily invested in the technology side of it. So in the first episode of season 4, we talk about our brand new police station, and we've got a telephone, and we have to explain what a telephone is, and we have a micro reader where we keep all of our files. We finally have a place to keep all of our files and a criminal records in one place. So we're not having to go through filing cabinets to try and figure out and cross-reference. We keep it all in one place. And so it's kind of it's a show about the birth of the modern policing methods. Really, we deal with fingerprinting and crime scene investigation, blood splatter, and all that kind of thing. And even there's a slight touch on not on DNA but blood types.
Okay.
And it starts quite formulaic in terms of there's a new crime each week, and we got to solve it. But then, as the pace picks up, there's a big conspiracy starts to unfold at the police station that goes right to the top, and that formula is very quickly shattered, and it goes at a pretty breakneck speed from there on in. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. What was your favorite part of playing this character?
I think the whole period of history is quite a fascinating time.
Yeah.
The industrialization, the empire is at its zenith, spanning almost a quarter of the globe, and there's a real sense of national pride. But actually, back home, things are pretty rough, for the working class people, because the nature of industrialization is that the working class people, exactly, in the East End, and that's where we're policing. So I find that quite an interesting era of history, this so-called prosperity of the nation, but very little is seen at ground level. And I had to do an accent for that. I had to do a Cockney accent, like an East End London accent, which is absolutely not my own. But there was quite a few of us in the show doing that accent.
Right.
And I remember saying to the director on my first day, I said, "Look, hey, I've never done this before. If it goes a bit Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins, you have to let me know immediately." But
or just let you continue. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what I was terrified they were doing in the beginning. I was like, they're just going to let me do this. This is going to go straight on TV, and it's going to be terrible. But luckily, it was okay. I had a few people, once it aired, a few people had sort of messaged me on Twitter saying, "I'm from the East End. It was pretty good." I was like, nice. That's all right then. But everyone was doing it. It's not Jerome's natural accent either. So we're constantly just on the lookout for each other, trying to make sure we don't slip up, which was quite nice. And we shoot it in Ireland as well. So there's so many different accents floating around the set. It's quite tricky to maintain, but that was a challenge that I really enjoyed. And that kind of ties in. So the period and the accent tie into my favourite bit, which is the language that we use. Richard Warlow, our creator, he wrote this wonderful, almost poetic language. He used 10 words when one would suffice, and it just made for such a wonderful experience. It's quite tricky to get my head around at first, that kind of old school Victorian way of speaking. Very few contractions. It was all very very British, and as you guys would probably imagine, the way we spoke back then during the Empire. But once you get the rhythm of what he's doing, it's beautiful. Actually, it was really, really enjoyable to have these wonderful long. And my character did quite a lot of exposition. I was quite often talking about the crime scene and what you were about to see before we walked onto the thing, and explaining about how to use a telephone. So I got these long moments of dialogue where it was really nice. I really, really enjoyed learning some of those lines.
That's great. I encourage everybody to check it out. And before we wrap this segment, this is a question I ask a lot of folks that I interview on stages at conventions, and I have to know if you had the opportunity, if you could hang out with one character that you've ever played in your entire career, like hang out with, shoot some pool, maybe grab a drink. If there's one character that you've ever played that you could hang out with, who would you want to hang out with?
I played a character in a TV show called Bluestone 4-2, where I played a ammunition technical officer. No. I did ammunition. Sorry, start again. Put my teeth in. Right, the ammunition technical officer was my boss. We're in the British Army, and I was his number 2, and I was just an ammunition technician, and we just went around Afghanistan defusing bombs, and it was a comedy about this bomb disposal detachment, and it was for BBC, and we had the most amazing time. But my character was about 60% me. He was incredibly sarcastic. He was miserable most of the time, but he loved his job. He loved blowing stuff up, and he loved being a soldier. And he supported Leeds United and Leeds Rhinos. He was from Leeds. Right. I swear that the writers had an idea for him, and then they met me and just completely changed it so that it was more in line with me. But I had so much fun playing him, because all of the cutting, sarcastic remarks that you want to say in life, he'd say them. And it was kind of like Larry David in Curb Your Enthusiasm. All the things that you want to say, you can say them. And so I'd probably get very, very bored of him and very tired of his stuff very quickly. But I would Tower Block was his, Gordon House was his real name. He went by the name of Tower Block. And I'd like to go for a beer with him.
Fantastic. Well, count me in. I'll go with you guys, and we'll have a grand old time. Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, Ripper Street. If you're not streaming it, you're not watching it, you need to.
Number 1.
Grab your Infinity Gauntlet and get ready, because the Avengers are coming back. Not necessarily that soon, but down the road in a little over a year. The Infinity Gauntlet is going to be in full action. You're going to have Thanos. It's the Infinity Wars are starting, and there was a nice little video that was posted online with Robert Downey Jr., Chris Pratt, Tom Holland. So Iron Man, Star-Lord, and new Spider-Man, and principal photography is beginning on the Infinity Wars. You a big Avengers fan? You like the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yeah. I mean, I was saying to you earlier how I'd not read any of the Marvel comics. Yeah. So most of my experience has come just through the movies, and I'm completely up to date. I make sure that I've seen them all, so that when I can, because I really like the Avengers, but I don't feel I can watch those unless I've seen all the individual stories. So I'm fully caught up now, and I watched Civil War a few months ago. I thought Tom Holland's little bit in that was brilliant.
Oh, I thought
he was so good, so I'm really looking forward to his movie. Spider-Man's going to be really exciting, and then of course the Infinity War's been bubbling for some time.
Oh, I can't wait.
I've been waiting for it, so it's going to be good. I don't really know much about this Thanos chap, because we saw him a little briefly at the end of one of them, didn't we? On his big galactic throne, wherever the hell he is. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see him show his face and kick off. It's gonna be good.
That big purple CG face.
Yeah. Who is it? Do we know who's playing him?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. Okay. And if I was a better journalist, I'd have it in front of me. But I know he's CG, and I know he's purple.
Yeah. And he's got like a lined chin.
Yeah. It's almost like a flesh beard.
Yeah. Yes. Just kind of
exactly.
Flesh beard.
But I agree with you with Civil War. Tom Holland, still English guy. Tom Holland?
Yeah, he was my agent, actually.
Yeah. And he totally stole the show, and I can't... Seeing those three guys in that clip was a little mind-blowing, because it's from, different films, and they're coming together. We have Josh Brolin, apparently, as Thanos.
Josh Brolin?
A.K.A. Brandon from the Goonies.
Wow. That's an interesting casting, isn't it? He's going to be good.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
He's got the voice for it.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
And he was in the Goonies, so he can do no wrong.
Right, okay.
Bring on Josh Brolin's CG face.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'd be good. But before that, Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2's coming out.
First one was a complete surprise for me.
Yeah.
Again, went to see it because it was part of the universe. Did not expect to enjoy it nearly as much as that. Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised. I don't know what I thought. I just thought I was like, are they just going to keep adding these more ridiculous characters to this universe, and I'm going to have to go and watch each and every one of them, paid for a cinema ticket, blah blah. And I think it was one of the best ones of the independent movies. One of the best ones by a mile, if not the best one. I mean, it was hilarious. It had an exceptional soundtrack. Chris Pratt was a revelation for me. I mean, I knew him briefly.
Yeah.
Definitely not as a leading man.
No, Parks and Rec, he was not a leading man.
Right, exactly. So that was very, very special. And the whole cast, actually, I thought Batista
was absolutely phenomenal.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Like, his comic timing and delivery was an incredible shock. I'm looking forward to the sequel, absolutely.
And I have to say, Batista has been a guest at our conventions, Heroes and
Really?
Villains Fan Fest. He just did his first one with us, and just the nicest guy you can meet.
Oh, that's good to know.
And absolutely, he's the beauty of what he does is he loves being Drax. You know, when somebody just loves being that character.
Yeah.
And by the same token, Michael Rooker, I almost called him Merle because I'm a Walking
Right,
Dead.
yeah.
Michael Rooker loves being Yondu too, so
he's going to be quite heavily featured, or more featured in the sequel, isn't he?
The Super Bowl
first
ad
one.
actually, it appeared that Rocket was welcoming
He kind of
Yondu
joined
to
the team.
Guardians of the Galaxy,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Okay.
The new Mohawk looks cool.
Is that canon? Is that in the comics? Do we know?
Not that I recall. I haven't
Okay.
read all of them, but I've read a vast majority. But I mean, I personally, I'll be the first person to admit it. Guilty pleasure. I'm looking forward to Baby Groot.
And is that still Vin Diesel?
Right? I would assume so. Yeah. And they just mess with the voice.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Baby Groot. Better than Baby Vin Diesel, I would assume. But he looks great, and it just looks fun. And I think that's the beauty of that movie versus some of the heavy stuff in the other Marvel movies.
You know, just on what you said, that I imagine Vin Diesel looked exactly the same as a baby. Imagine he looks just the same but smaller.
Much like Groot.
Yeah.
Oh, that is great. But no, Guardians is going to be fantastic. Avengers Infinity War, can't wait till that comes out. And while we're talking movies, we talked a lot about it when we referenced the celebration of Harry Potter. But, I mean, you've got the questions a million times, but people still want to know. I want to know. How does it feel to be part of pretty much the biggest movie franchise of all time?
When I was a kid, I used to watch Star Wars literally on repeat. I mean, I had it on VHS. I had the 1997 the special edition because at the time I didn't know any better. And I used to put the VHS tape in, and I'd put that button on your VCR where you could, once it finished, it would rewind and just play again. And I just would leave it on all night, and I'd fall asleep to it, and I'd wake up in the morning for school, and it would still be, the film would be halfway through. And I'd have a different one. I'd just do 4, 5, 6 throughout the week. And there was a point at which I could just do the whole films back to back, the script from memory, and that for me was the ultimate film series. Still is for me personally. I love it. It's escapism, great characters, great stories, and very similar to Harry Potter in that universal story that people can always relate to is the idea that you are just going about your boring normal life, and someone comes along and tells you, no, actually, you're really special, you're going to save the world.
Yeah.
It happened to Luke Skywalker, it happened to Harry Potter, and that is a universal trope that most people can relate to, particularly young people in school, maybe not having the best time or not standing out from the crowd. Everyone can relate to that.
Right.
And so I always thought that was just the most amazing thing. And I never in a million years, at that age of, 7, 8, expected to be in a film that would commercially and in terms of fan base be anywhere near on a par with something like Star Wars, ever.
Yeah.
The concept of that was beguiling. I mean, I wouldn't even be able to dream that. I remember when I was a boy, I set off. I ran away from home. That lasted about 2 hours. To go and find Carrie Fisher. And I think I got to the end of my street and was like, I don't know where she is. And I just walked around for a bit, didn't find her, went back. But just stuff like that. And so I never thought that I would one day meet these people, be on red carpets with them, do conventions with them. It was just beyond any kind of imagining. So it's very difficult to put into words how I feel. I don't think it really. I'm not sure it has really sunk in, and whether it ever really will do. I kind of thought, eventually after it's finished, years later it'll sink in, or maybe when I'm showing my kids or whatever. I just don't think it ever will. I don't think I'll ever be able to put myself in the same kind of category as people like that, because it's just, that was my childhood that I always aspired to be. I just thought it's something like if you're a sportsman and you grow up watching Michael Jordan and then you end up being LeBron, and you're like, yeah, but it's still Michael Jordan, isn't it?
Right.
You can never quite, and it's I kind of feel a bit like that it's very difficult for me to grasp that our film series was so successful and is so successful. I always still put those kind of movies on a little higher pedestal than we have. It's quite difficult to say. It's difficult.
Yeah, but what would you want people to know about the experience that they maybe they wouldn't know or they wouldn't think about?
I mean, it kind of ties along with what I was just saying there, really. That for us, because we were all filming these films together, all the kids, I mean, we kind of all did it. Going to work was kind of just like going to school. I mean, a lot of people have the kind of misconceptions about how we all had led this kind of Hollywood lifestyle, and we all got paid millions and millions of dollars, and we all live in mansions and all this kind of thing. But in truth, it was we had relatively, with the exception of maybe Dan, Rupert, and Emma, who took a lot more limelight than we did, and dealt with it incredibly well. The rest of us, the Toms and me and whatever, we kind of just were doing a job, and we went back to our homes. Went back to school. I lived in Leeds for the longest time. I only moved to London a few years ago. I went back to all my old friends. So I'm a season ticket holder at Leeds Rhinos to watch the rugby. I sit on a wooden seat at the Leeds Rhinos. I'm not in a box or anything.
Right.
And when we went to the studio, we all did classes as well. We had to do history and science and maths and all the boring stuff. And so it was just like going to school. We just went to school in a different place, and every half hour someone would take you out and make you do some cool filming stuff.
Right.
But in terms of actual our day-to-day lives, they were very similar. Obviously, taking the red carpet nature out of it and the stuff that's happened post Harry Potter is,
right,
incredible. I still don't really feel like I belong in those kind of places. You sort of go there and you do it, and that is exceptional. And I won't sit there and say, yeah, I'm just a normal person. I just go on red carpets every week. But the actual day-to-day life of it was very normal. It was very normal. And was still incredibly intimidated by the older people, and
right,
and didn't really know what I was doing, as most people in life don't really have a clue what they're doing. And you just have to find your feet. And luckily, because I do a lot of stuff like this, I can give the illusion that I'm calm and collected, when in truth I'm going, I have no idea what I'm saying or what I'm answering right now. And it's just, we're all just in this crazy journey trying to get through it. And us being in that film is no different. None of us knew it was going to be as big as it was. We're still all scratching our heads as to how it is. And yeah,
Is it, at this point in life and post, the series, is it still easy to embrace it? Do you, because people see you and they say Neville, and you get that all the time. It's Neville, and my kids were just thrilled that you were co-hosting, and of course I just say, Neville's co-hosting with me, and they go crazy, because they loved it so much. So is it easy to embrace it all the time, or are there some times where you wouldn't mind a little distance?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of both.
Yeah,
I mean, to completely shun it entirely, and refuse to talk about it, to almost pretend that it's not happened is not only insane, and also detrimental to you professionally as well as personally. I just think it's a level of it's ungrateful. It's a lack of gratitude I feel on the step up that we've been given in life. I think absolutely I've professionally wanted to distance myself from it. The roles that I've taken have been quite drastically different from Neville, to try and professionally show a different side to my acting, to my abilities. But when you meet fans, the fans that have paid their hard-earned money, and lots of it, to allow us to keep making movies, to allow us to get paid at the end of the month, to allow us to have flights around the world and see things that many people haven't, and to be put in that 1% on the planet is something that I cannot and will not take lightly. And I think that you have a responsibility to embrace that. And by all means, you can say, look, I'm done doing that anymore. I'm not playing that character anymore. But if you want to talk about it, I'm going to answer your questions, because you guys pay my wages. You know, you guys are the reasons we're doing this. The reasons we're telling these stories is so you guys can watch them and be moved by them. To then throw that back in people's faces and say, I'm done with that now. Sorry, is madness. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's just about balance, really.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And on behalf of Harry Potter fans everywhere, thank you for your contribution and for
My
bringing
pleasure.
such an amazing character to life.
No,
right?
thanks for watching and paying. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So everybody go buy all the Blu-rays if you don't have them, and make sure you book your vacation to Universal Orlando Resort to step into the Wizarding World. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap it up here for us at the Pop 10 for February 2017. My special guest, celebrity co-host, Matthew Lewis. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here, man. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. That was a lot of fun. I was quite surprised myself with some of the stuff I was talking about. I thought I was going to come on and not have a word to say. So that was it's like you tailored the discussion just for me.
Oh, well, I have a fantastic co-producer. I have great people around me in the studio. And, we learned a lot.
We did. I did. That's for sure.
That's absolutely. Everybody needs to find out, what house you're in so you can be a Hufflepuff like Matthew Lewis.
Adele's a Hufflepuff. Don't forget.
Adele is a Hufflepuff. That's it. We got a hashtag.
Probably.
Probably. So again, thank you so much. Please visit us on the World Wide Web. We learned how that was created as well.
Tim Berners-Lee.
Right. At thepop10.com. Keep your eyes peeled for some excellent blogs and stuff on the YouTube channel. So again, Matthew Lewis, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
That's going to do it for us here, and we'll see you next time right here on the Pop 10.